오늘 이 자리에 컨퍼런스를 본격적으로 시작할까 합니다. 기조강연부터 시작을 하겠습니다. 저희 소개를 좀 드리면 저희 키와는 공공기관 최초로 청소년들 2분을 등기이사로 모시는 청소년 이사제를 도입했습니다. 실질적으로 청소년들과 권력을 나누기 위한 그런 준비를 하고 있습니다. 오늘 컨퍼런스를 준비하면서 가장 중요하게 생각한 것은 청소년들과 이 자리를 어떻게 함께 할 것인가에 대한 고민이었습니다. 그래서 기조강연만큼은 청소년으로 모시고 싶었습니다. 23살이시더라고요. 그래서 청소년으로 보면 좋을 것 같고요. 미네르바 스쿨에서 공부를 하고 올해 졸업을 하셨고요. 그리고 보시다시피 더불어 나누는 삶, 그리고 더 나은 세상을 만들기 위한 노력을 하고 계십니다. 그와 관련된 일도 시작을 하셨고요. 그리고 그저께 미국에서 이 컨퍼런스를 위해서 직접 오셨습니다. 아직 시차 적응이 잘 안 되실 수도 있을 텐데요. 여러분들께 소개해드리고자 합니다. 여러분들과 함께 나누고자 하는 주제는 가상 글로벌 리더, 그리고 미네르바 학생들은 어떻게 4년 동안 7개 도시를 다니면서 생활을 하고 있는가에 대한 내용을 여러분들과 나누려고 합니다. 오늘의 처음을 여는 기조강연자를 소개합니다. 준비되셨나요? 처음이어서 준비되셨나요? 네. 소개합니다. 미스 메리언 그렉. 큰 박수로 맞아주시면 고맙겠습니다.
Hello everybody, how are we doing today? Happy Thursday. Today is a day of thanks in the United States, and so to start, I want to start with a note of gratitude. Thank you, Kywa, for inviting me to be here today. I'm truly honored to have the opportunity to share my personal story, my educational journey with Minerva Schools at KGI. That's a photo of my last day in Seoul 2 years ago when I lived here in 2017. I was living in Gangnam for 4 months with my university, Minerva, with my classmates, and I had an incredible experience exploring the culture of this beautiful country with trips to Busan and Uleongdo and trying to be a vegetarian, which is a challenge, but it was a beautiful and fantastic experience. And before I get into the details of my educational journey and project-based learning, a quick sense of the audience. So please raise your hand if you are a student. Any students in the audience? Okay. And raise your hand if you are an active educator. No, but most of you are involved in education. And raise your hand if you ever feel constrained by your learning environment. No, you guys don't. Okay, I'm amazed. Most people I talk to feel very constrained by their learning environment. And that was my sense. I felt constrained by a flawed system and felt like there was a gap in enabling agency and changing the system. So in fall 2013, I was a senior at public high school in California, and I was going through the motions. I was applying to universities, I was overstretched between academics, advanced courses, work to earn money, extracurriculars that were endless, and not enough sleep. I was a clog in the machine of modern-day bureaucratized public education in the United States. While I had a fantastic relationship with my teachers, I also was disillusioned by the way the system was failing me. It was failing my classmates, and it was failing our society. All of this hard work, hours after hours, day after day, exam after exam, to put into a test, to regurgitate information, not to integrate it with society, with reality, and with creating solutions for the problems we faced. All to be what New York Times bestselling author describes, excellent sheep, just following blindly. In a broken system in the United States, which costs too much, monstrous amount of money, $250,000 at some institutions, up to $70,000 per year to go to an elite liberal arts university in the United States. To be in debt for an empirically unsound way of teaching, the lecture format is not justified. It's not seminars in these schools. You don't have project-based learning because it's too expensive. Unless you're at some of those elite institutions, we can't afford it. At UC Berkeley, one of the options I had in 2014, I would be sitting in lecture halls with hundreds of other students. That wasn't an option that made sense to me. And it didn't make sense to me because I was lucky. In my earlier education, I was in a homeschool group. I had 2.5 years with one teacher and just a handful of other students where we were not overstretched by an academic environment, but we were enabled to expand our curiosity and to engage and to have agency in our learning experience. We engaged in critical thinking because it was not only demanded by this environment, but it was granted. We were upheld and we were taught to use our minds to ask questions about the world, not just to accept the information that was given to us in textbooks. And so, because I had that background, I knew that I was looking for a different type of educational experience. I saw that the world was changing. It was no longer like it was in 2005, where you have just, one phone in the corner down there, but we weren't using devices that virtually connected us to the rest of the world. 2013, when I was applying to schools, we were a rapidly changing society. We're virtually connected. And I was looking for a university experience that suited the world that was changing around me. Because the real world, the world outside of our campuses, it's a world that's not bounded by brick and mortar institutions. It's a world that is fueled by technological innovation. And the lecture halls that have enabled education for centuries, that have been necessary, those lecture halls haven't fundamentally changed for hundreds of years. So is that model still relevant to 21st century education, when 65% of today's grade school kids will end up in a job that hasn't been invented yet? And 93% of employers say the capacity to think critically, communicate clearly, solve complex problems, that's more important than their undergraduate degree and what institution their undergraduate degree is from. So what would Harvard, the lecture hall at Harvard, with that knowledge, what would Harvard or Oxford or Hanyang University, what would they look like if they were built today? Would they have lecture halls with podiums and students falling asleep in the background? Our world is complex, it's interconnected, it's dynamic, it's nonlinear, and the challenges we're facing reflect that. Land degradation, this is in India, in North Telangana state, where they're digging they're digging about 60 feet underground to build a basis for water in the middle of hot northern Telangana state. It's going to evaporate and it's not going to be effective. This is from 2017, but we have collapsing social systems. And on the right, we have resources we're extracting from our earth to fuel an economic system that is unsustainable. And we have climate change fueled disasters. This is a photo of Malibu, California, my hometown, last fall, when we were facing one of the largest fires in California history, the Woolsey Fire. It's terrifying, the challenges we're facing, and we need solutions to solve them. The devastation is incalculable. And so I was looking for a university experience that would be innovative and it would integrate with reality. It would teach me how to solve those problems. I was asking the questions, how do I learn the skills that are necessary to create change in an uncertain world? What educational journey will teach me how to think, not what to think? And what will prepare me for the jobs that haven't even been invented yet? Will it be interconnected with the 21st century reality? And will I be inspired to be curious and actively engage with society? Because in the face of the global complex challenges, we need to enable agency to rethink the system. It's necessary for 21st century education. And so I was lucky to find Minerva Schools at KGI, where they understand that this education matters for systematic thinkers, for global leaders, broad thinkers who can go deep into certain topics but also understand how everything is interconnected in our world. And so for this next part of the presentation, I want to go through what Minerva Schools at KGI is, how we exist, where we operate, and my experience in a global, local, and virtual learning environment. So Minerva, it's an undergraduate 4-year university experience. We are taught the skills needed for success in an uncertain future. And the mission is to nurture critical wisdom for the sake of the world. It's a not-for-profit, fully accredited university. There's a for-profit component called Minerva Project, which manages the brand and IP and the curriculum. We study in 7 world cities over 4 years, started in San Francisco, then go to Seoul, Hyderabad, India, Berlin, Germany, Buenos Aires, Argentina, London, Taipei. It's a global learning environment. And to give you a sense of the types of applicants we have, a lot of them, with only a very few students admitted, but our student body represents lots of countries. In my class of 2019, we had nearly 40 countries represented, and just this year for the class of 2023, we had applicants from 184 countries. It's a truly internationally representative student body. And we're preparing students from around the world to be effective leaders and innovators in whatever field and sectors they pursue. We focus on teaching core competencies, critical thinking, creative thinking, effective communication, and effective interaction. And we are taught these through a core set of cognitive tools, habits of mind, and foundational concepts. Habits of mind are abilities that enable us to be deliberate in our practice of what we do, and foundational concepts are the knowledge bits that are important for working across all sectors. These are the core tools that we then take beyond the academic environment, integrating what we're learning in the classroom with projects in the real world to be ready for our professional pursuits, to be healthy and well in how we pursue our professional careers, and to engage in society after our 4-year degree. And so how do we learn? We have structured courses, active learning, all in the forum. It's a virtual learning environment that Minerva has developed, where imagine a Google Hangouts or a Skype on steroids designed specifically to be a classroom. We can raise our hands, ask questions. We are integrated with Google Chrome, so we have Google Docs, Google Sheets, we have a whiteboard, we have different types of coding that are enabled on the platform, we have breakout groups, so it's a very advanced technological platform to enable this virtual connection to happen in live seminar classes. The first year we're taught our cornerstone courses, which covered those 4 main tenets of thinking I explained: critical thinking, creative thinking, effective interacting, and effective communication. These cornerstone courses provide the backbone for our upper year academic explorations. And you can see a sense of the dashboard where we engage in this technological platform. We have our assignments, class assessments, and our outcome index. These are the ways we track the content that we're learning through those habits of mind and foundational concepts. So interpretive lens is one example of a concept that we're taught, and it has its own individual rubric. There's about 100 of these concepts that we then are tracked over the 4 years of education with Minerva. So you can see your progress with each of those concepts by how each one is scored on the assignments you submit and the classrooms you participate in. And our upper year courses cross 5 colleges: social science, business, natural, computational, arts, and humanities. It's a broad range of course offerings. And we take class in this virtual environment. So these are students connecting from a cafe in Germany. It's a virtual connection from anywhere in the world: small seminars, fully active learning, critical skills, and practical knowledge. And we have advanced tools. We are coding in different languages. We are learning the ways we can use technology to assist our academic explorations. This is an example of taking class in a cafe. You can see it's not, a marketing photo, it's the real photo. It's what it actually looks like to be taking class. This is at a cafe in Itaewon when I was here 2 years ago. And on the right, that is preparing for the class on a bus on my way to Itaewon. So you're really actively engaging in your coursework wherever you're able to connect to Wi-Fi or use the tools you have, such as your computer, on a bus in Seoul. And that's on a bus going back from that cafe back to my student residence in Gangnam, where I then took my next class from my dorm room. And so at the end of this presentation, I have a link to the online file, and you can access that file anytime. And there's a couple videos that, if you're curious, you can play. This video shows much more comprehensively what this learning environment looks like in reality. So the Minerva educational experience is addressing the fact that We have a skills gap. 96% of our academic officers believe their institutions are effective at preparing students for the world of work, but only 11% of employers agree. Is that crazy? I mean, I think that's crazy. And so if that's what we understand in the real world, then why aren't our academic institutions changing to change that gap and remove that gap? Considering the complex problems we're facing, we need to change. And so beyond academics, Minerva teaches us self-management and wellness, global and cultural dexterity, professional readiness, character and responsibility, and interpersonal engagement. So these are different key components of our experience that are not graded in our academic courses, but there are rubrics and there are ways of assessing our progress in those 5 different tracks over the 4-year experience. So we check in with the professional development agency, with our mentors, with our academic advisors, to ensure that we're developing as holistic individuals in our society, not just in our particular academic focus. And it seems to be working. We have students that are at incredible institutions around the world, so that's really exciting for a brand new educational endeavor. And so the more personal side of this journey today is my own experience with local projects while living as a global nomad and taking classes in a virtual environment. So beyond the academic coursework, we have student experience, which enables students to connect to organizations and entities and individuals in each of the cities we live in over the 4 years. We have civic projects that happen at short periods or throughout the 4 months. That are locally relevant, engaging students in the culture and in the particular work culture of where they're living at that time. And we also have student initiatives that can be locally relevant and short-term projects just for the semester where we're living at the time, or can span all semesters, all cities, and include students across all classes at Minerva. The 4 main goals of the current student experience team is community building, developing a global perspective in our student body, including applied learning, like PBL, enabling that to happen, and developing a sense of agency through student initiatives, providing the underlying tools needed for students to start projects in all of the cities that we go to. So an example of our co-curricular activities, these can be one-off events that happen for a few hours or maybe a couple days, a one-off cultural exposure event, making kimchi in Seoul. That was an afternoon in Insadong, and it was a fantastic time learning about the cultural history and the relevance of kimchi to society here. Or going to the Green Climate Fund, which is an international organization, also headquartered in Korea, and learning about how they apply computational tools in assessing the impact of the work that they are doing to address the complex challenges, particularly climate change challenges. Or spending a weekend at a farm in India, learning about the challenges facing the agriculture sector and working with the farmers firsthand to understand those challenges and the reality. These are all things that are enabled while we're doing our academic coursework during the semester. This isn't a separate 10-day project where you're not doing your studies. It's not over summer. This is during the semester. So we're learning and exposed to these types of environments while we're studying, which enables you to match these concepts of what's happening in the real world with sector-specific, course-specific content. Another example of the student experience team is What I've Learned. These are events that are usually just a couple hours with individuals in the cities we're living in across a broad range of sectors, where we can ask them questions about their professional career. What have they done? What did they learn? What can we learn from what they've done in their career that we can then use to inspire and direct our academic coursework? Often these What I've Learned are actually also enabling us to develop our network in that local environment. So these are 2 individuals I met through What I've Learned that I've continued to do work with since I met them. Kaushik with Ketty in Hyderabad in February 2018. I met him during a What I've Learned, and then he became integral for my senior thesis, which has continued over a 1.5 years. Rafe Bertram, I'll speak to shortly. We're still working together today. So it's a great example of how we build our networks in the cities. Project-based assignments are really important, and it's the integration of our academic work with projects in the real world. These are projects that we're not just doing separate from our academic work, but projects that are graded, so we actually get feedback and results in our academic coursework on what we're doing and whether we're applying what we're learning in our academic work well. Two examples of this are developing an ecological project in Telangana for students in natural sciences courses, and my own capstone project, Growth, which is what we work on our 3rd and 4th year at Minerva, and it's meant to be the culmination of everything we've learned in our academic courses, our years 1 through 4, integrating all of that into a project that captures what we've learned, what we've been exposed to, and how we can create materials that are relevant for what we do after we graduate. And civic projects. Civic projects are ones that are not just one-off events or a few hours with individuals in the city. They're projects that sustain for a few weeks or the entire 4-month semester, or possibly even beyond, where we engage with individuals, we set a scope of the project, and we're working consistently throughout the semester to develop the deliverables and provide value add both for those partners of Minerva as well as for our own learning experience. And so these are photos from a civic project I did in India in 2018 that took me to different states in India to meet farmers and learn about the agriculture system. It was agricultural research. And so, again, this was not separate from my academic coursework. This was not my academic coursework. It was a project that related to what I was studying. I did it while I was studying. Because of my virtual environment, I could travel during the semester to and from Hyderabad. But I wasn't getting graded for doing this work. So it's an example of how you have real-world application while you're still studying at Minerva in your coursework. And beyond the classroom, so those were all examples of how we engage in the cities we live in. We engage as an individual with other individuals, an individual with groups, groups to individuals, and groups to groups. So there are many different ways that the Minerva model enables students to be actively engaged in the societies in the real world we're living in. And my personal journey, it started in 2014 in San Francisco. I was one of 28 students in the founding class at Minerva, and that first year we mostly had the first category of student experience work I explained. We mostly had co-curricular activities. So an example, a few of the companies we connected with, they're globally recognized entities: Kywa, an entity in microfinance, Indiegogo, a crowdfunding platform, GS&P, Goodby Silverstein and Partners run some of the biggest global advertising campaigns. So we had engagement with these different groups, which expanded our mind of what are the possibilities of how I engage in the world? What do I want to study? How can I learn from these individuals and organizations I'm meeting my freshman year to guide my academic coursework my sophomore, junior, and senior year? And we also started our first student initiatives in 2014, but as only 28 students, it was difficult to build anything outside of our classroom environment. We didn't have many people to build things with, so it was really just ideas that first year. The second year, we had an exploration year because we were only 28 students. We had a gap year, so I was able to take the cognitive tools I learned during the first year at Minerva, all of those habits of mind and foundational concepts, and apply them to a broad range of work experience throughout a 16-month gap year. That work experience was in global advisory, it was in the food system in California, it was in product development, it was also in fieldwork in Bhutan. So it was very diverse, and it continued to expose me to different global contexts that I then was able to continue using in my third year in Germany and in Argentina to develop projects in those cities that enabled us to provide a value-add research to the local Ministry of Social and Urban Integration, the largest slum integration project in the world. And we also built out the Minerva Quest. So you can see there's a progression over the years of my journey with Minerva. It started as co-curriculars, and then it expanded to personal exploration, and then from there it went to civic projects, projects that were lasting the whole semester, where we were producing results for the local organizations. And when I was in Seoul in 2017, I did design thinking course with SAP Korea, and then in India I worked with Tel Aviv University and Tata Trust. So all of these are projects that continued beyond the classroom. Challenges. So it's great that we have this global learning environment. It's not easy. it's really hard to do intense, rigorous academic coursework. Minerva says we're expected to have 40 hours a week of academic coursework. It is much more than that. And so on top of those hours for your academic explorations, how do you fit in doing also the logistics of a global nomadic lifestyle, the visa process, moving to a new country, adapting to that local culture, matching the partner expectations with the bandwidth students actually have, given that academic coursework, and also scoping projects that you can actually complete in that 4-month window. These are all challenges that we faced in enabling project-based learning in this context, but they're challenges I think we overcame thus far, and will continue developing frameworks for students to use to enable projects to happen much more expediently, so there isn't a long delay from when you first arrive in a new country and a new culture to when you start that project and are engaging with the partner throughout the semester. And these are just a list of some of the classes that I took over my 4 years. So they're broad and they're big concepts, and there's a lot that you're learning from those concepts. But with the skills that you're taught through the Habits of Mind and Foundational Concept, all of those tools you get the first year, you're then able to integrate that and develop technical skills by working on all of these projects over the 4 years. So I learned those cognitive tools the first year, I learned technical skills in all of those upper year courses, and I developed with confidence my skills in data visualization, in design and systems thinking, in managing multicultural team dynamics, in ethical framing, and in logistics, in how to live in Hyderabad, India, and make a film on fields in remote locations, to moving back to San Francisco and conducting business meetings there. Completely different contexts and how to move between them seamlessly. And so I finished my degree with a Bachelor's of Science. I focused on Earth Systems and Social Economy last May with the class of 2019. And I have a mission with that degree, with everything I've learned, all of these projects I've worked on over the last 5 years. My mission is to prevent the enslavement of future generations to an unsustainable planet. And Minerva has given me the skills to pursue that mission. I started pursuing that mission in 2018 with 3 different projects that are continuing, which I will give a highlight reel of before wrapping up. Growth, which I alluded to earlier. It started at a conference in India where I learned that there's a gap in the agricultural sector between what we know is unsustainable and what we're actually doing to change it. So I conducted filmed interviews with stakeholders in the agriculture system across 5 states over from February 2018 to February 2019, over 8.5 months. And this is another video you can look at later online if you're interested. And so, happy coincidences, I met through what I've learned. I met an expert in the agriculture sector in India who then was able to introduce me to other individuals I could interview to understand the agriculture sector in India. I had project experience that gave me the skills to go forth and learn how to become a documentarian filmmaker. Even though I was studying natural sciences, I wasn't studying filmmaking, but I was equipped with the skills to approach that type of project regardless of that difference in my background. And I engaged with a leading agricultural startup, with founders and CEOs at sustainable food companies, with rural farmers, with urban farmers, with the research project, with the Permaculture Institute, all exploring the question of what are the constraints and obstacles faced by stakeholders in agriculture in India in adapting to climate change, land degradation, and drought. It's a big question, and it took a lot to explore it, particularly the role of organic agriculture in adapting to these challenges. These are some photos from that journey, and the project took me across 5 states. Some examples of the stakeholders I interviewed: Northeast India, Northwest India, and the Southeast. The questions I asked them, again, you can look at these in more detail later. And this is one of the families I lived with in southern India. This project is still in review, it's still in editing, and it's still under production. It's an ongoing project because it was interrupted by a climate change fuel disaster last fall. So even though this project was interrupted, I had to fly from London back to California to be with my family. I was present. I was still able to use the skills that I'd learned from Minerva to assist my community in a time of need. I conducted citizen journalism. I was in the disaster zone for 10 days. On the bottom middle, that's actually video of Mr. Trump coming to visit our town. And on the bottom left is my protest to that visit. And through this experience of conducting citizen journalism, again, not what I studied, but something I was prepared to do and provide value to my community in that context, I was able to do it because of the skills Minerva taught me, and because Minerva is global and virtual. I could still engage in my academic coursework. This was in the middle of the semester. It was a few weeks before my finals in fall of my senior year, and I was able to go back to my community in a time of need and be present and keep learning what I needed to learn to be able to do the projects that I see as providing value for our society. And that also connected me to a filmmaker I'm still working with. Through being present in my community on the ground, I have now done a film project. Involved with a film project where we are following a congresswoman candidate from California's 1st District. And so it's amazing what can happen when you are out in the world and you're in reality, the connections that can naturally emerge and the network effects that enable you to keep doing the things that you're passionate about. And again, filming back in India. So despite that interruption, I continued building a project with Rafe Bertrand in London. I returned to India to continue my capstone project, and I have an ongoing documentarian efforts. All of this culminates in my main focus now, which is Interplanet. It's a project fueled by the 5 years of preparation Minerva has given me to build a globally distributed team that's virtually connected. So Interplanet's a creation collective, and we mostly are based in the UK and in California, and we do a lot of things, but mostly we ideate and we create solutions for a more sustainable world. This is a Climathon, an event we just ran last month in London. It was a volunteer effort to run an event that connects to individuals in 6 continents, over 100 cities, and over 5,000 participants. We're building a Fitbit for the environment, a technology that enables individuals to understand their carbon impact on the world and to nudge behavioral change for a more sustainable world. We had 4 days, 127 people engaged across 4 venues. It's a fantastic event, lots of inspiration, and again, a video you can look through which demonstrates some example slides of the technology that we are building. And so, to sum it all up, in 2013, I was constrained by a flawed educational system. And in 2019, I am changing that system for a more sustainable world. I am building a new model for an organizational entity with individuals that are globally distributed, we're virtually connected, and we are able to do that because of the changing world we exist in, and because we have individuals who are jumping into that change and trying to figure out how to build solutions that are radical and will address the complex challenges we are facing. I learned skills that are necessary to create change in an uncertain world. I'm globally adaptive, I'm technologically skilled, and I'm resilient. I'm able to navigate the unknown. I can confidently say I would not have made it through the last year of being interrupted by a climate change disaster, a few weeks before finals of my senior year, of ongoing insane legal challenges because of that fire. I would not have been able to make it through that year and still do the projects that I'm doing that are in India, that are in the UK, that are in California, that bring me here, without the education Minerva provided. I found an educational journey that taught me how to think, not what, to always ask questions and to engage with material that you are being shown. And I'm equipped with skills for lifelong learning, how to filter all the noise and information that is in our world, the information we have access to all the time, and to get down to what's really important, to learn the skills that enable you to build the things that you see need to be built for the world. And I'm prepared for jobs that haven't even been invented yet, and I know this because I'm inventing them myself. I'm engaged in social entrepreneurship to address the challenges I see in the world. And I've been integrated in our global society. I've lived in 6 countries since 2014. I've continued to travel. In the last 7 months, I've stayed in a single place for an average of 3 days. I'm constantly on the go, and I haven't lost my mind, so I hope. But that's not easy to do, but the adaptability and resiliency that Minerva requires you to learn by moving to a new city every 4 months is what has enabled me to continue this lifestyle. And I'm inspired to stay curious and actively engaged in our global society because enabling agency to rethink the system is a necessity for 21st century education. And I believe through my personal experience, it's subjective, but I think the projects that I had, the projects that my classmates at Minerva have, the ones that I continue to learn about and be inspired by all of the work that's happening all over the world, project-based learning is a tool to enable agency in creating change. And we need to create change in the world we exist in now. And I think the next speakers will provide some examples of how that can happen in the educational structure you have in Korea. But I hope that very fast run-through of the last 5 years gives a taste of what can happen, of opening your minds to the ways you can exist in a global context and a virtual learning environment, and also be locally relevant where you are experiencing that virtual learning environment. So thank you for listening today, and if you want, you can get out your phone and snap a photo. You can message me, email me. I would love to be in touch. You can view this presentation online, so those videos that didn't play today, you can access them at any point, or email me if you have questions on how to access them. And you can follow my current work at innerplanet.world. And if you want to see that citizen journalism, it's fun stuff, you can look at my Instagram account. Thank you so much for your attention today.
네, 감사합니다. 그동안 우리가 미네르바 스쿨이라고 얘기를 들으면 전 세계를 돌아다니면서 공부하고 또 캠퍼스가 없는 학교 뭐 이런 피상적인 것만 알고 있었는데요. 오늘의 발표와 또 사전에 만나서 얘기를 나눠보니까 너무너무 힘들었다고 일단 우선 얘기하더라고요. 그리고 그 안에서도 지식 전달과 그 경험을 통한 프로젝트를 통한 경험의 균형을 잡기 위한 고민과 도전은 계속되고 있는 것 같습니다. 그런 내용들을 소개해 준 강연이었던 것 같고, 특히 흔히들 얘기해서도 뭐 그 세대를 그렇게 구분짓는 건 별로 좋아하지 않습니다만은 Z세대라고 지칭될 수 있는 그 세대들은 최근에 세상을 바꾸겠다, 더 나은 세상을 만들겠다라고 얘기하는 그런 세대들이 많은데, 그런 그 내용들을 가지고 지금도 그 도전을 하고 있는 모습에서 굉장히 기대가 많이 되고요. 앞으로 어떻게 성장해 나갈 것인가에 대한 기대가 좀 더 굉장히 컸던 것 같습니다. 다시 한번 기조 강연을 해준 미스 메리언 그렉의 큰 박수 한번 보내주시면 좋겠습니다. 예, 시작이 됐습니다. 이렇게 기조 강연으로 여러분들께 사전에 실시간 소통 프로그램 쓰시는 거 잠깐 안내해 드렸는데요. 실시간 느낀 점, 질문 이런 거 올라오고 있습니다. 실시간 느낀 점에는 강연에 대한 느낀 점도 좋고요. 이런 것도 보내주시네요. 겨울이라서 두꺼운 외투, 조금 온도를 낮춰주면 되지 않을까요? 답글 달았습니다. 에어컨 돌리고 있습니다. 외부에서 소리가 크게 들리니까 소음 좀 줄여주세요. 답글 문 닫았습니다. 네. 통역기 한국어 볼륨을 좀 더 올려주세요. 볼륨은 스스로 올리시는 거랍니다. 예. 나중에 또 그 토론하실 때도 쓰시니까요. 잘 간직하시면 좋겠습니다. 발표를 듣는 것만으로도 설레고 떨리네요. 기대됩니다. 동감입니다. 예. 이렇게 실시간 소통에 많이 올려주시면요. 좋은 댓글 또 감상 달아주신 분들께는 저희 PBL 지원센터가 PBL 공부하면서 읽었던 추천 도서를 몇 가지 준비해왔습니다. 선물로 드리겠습니다. 나중에 한꺼번에 소개해드릴 기회를 갖고요. 질문도 많이 올려주시면 이따 토론 시간에 질문 답할 수 있도록 하겠습니다.